Ready?
Mayor.
Yep. Good. Okay. This City Council meeting is called to order. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk Ed Norris, please call the roll.
Mayor McClellan.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Speech.
Here.
Councilmember Radner.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Okay, full house. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Next on the list is consent agenda. These are routine items presented as a single item without discussion, and any council member can ask to have one of them considered separately. A, regular council meeting minutes of October 2nd, 2017. That's the amended version. B, special council meeting minutes of October 2nd. Planning Commission meeting minutes of September 11th. Payment for final for the 2015-16 miscellaneous concrete repair project M621 to Mattioli Cement Company Limited in the amount of $1,000. F, payment of invoices from Orchard, Hiltz, and McClement, OHM, for traffic signal optimization, 9-mile tap grant design, and SAW grant support in the total amount of $53,216.67. F, licenses new and renewals as submitted for October 16th, 2017. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any no discussion? Roll call, please.
I have a discussion.
I think if you want to discuss it, you had to ask to have it removed.
Oh, okay.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Councilmember Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yeah.
Councilmember Speech.
No.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. I don't see any elected officials here, so we are on special recognition and presentations. Director Steve Cooper.
I think I'm live here, right? All right.
Are you on?
I'm on. Good evening, Mayor, our Mayor Pro Tem, our City Council, and the City Manager. Just want to take this opportunity to thank you again for allowing me this forum to acknowledge some of the great work that's being performed by our public safety officers. This evening I have a merit citation and a unit citation that I would like to present. One incident involves an elderly female who suffered from some mental health issues, and the second involved a female who was unresponsive and not breathing. Obviously, standing before this council, presenting awards to the men and women whom you serve with every day has always been a great source of pride for myself. I hope it's also a great source of pride for the men and women who receive these well-deserved awards. They're truly our first line of defense, the first to render aid, the first to assume the inherent dangers that comes with serving as a public safety officer. And as they don the badge before the start of each shift, I challenge and demand from each of them that they always serve this community and those who depend on them with the utmost integrity, respect, and unwavering loyalty. I'll start out with the unit citation, and I would ask that Officer Scott Turner please come front and center and stand forward and face the audience. Officer Turner is one of our officers who works the day shift, and he'll be representing the other officers who are not able to be here today. Just to give you a little background, Officer Turner is a 16-year veteran of the department. He's highly decorated, has received numerous awards and citations. Officer Turner is also one of our evidence technicians for the department. He does an outstanding job processing crime scene, which includes gathering and preserving evidence. As a result of his efforts, the department has arrested many suspects and successfully closed numerous cases. Officer Turner is currently assigned to the day shift, and we are extremely lucky to have him as a member of our department. So without further ado, I will actually read from the unit citation verbatim. Also on the citation is Sergeant James Vernier, Officer Ryan Beasley, Officer Eric Zarfel, and Officer Scott Dichtel. This incident occurred on Friday, June the 23rd, 2017. At 6 p.m., officers were dispatched to the 13,400 block of Burton on a mental committal of a 71-year-old elderly female. Upon arriving on scene, officers spoke with the husband of the subject, who explained that his wife was having some mental health issues. He stated that on this date, she was delusional, hearing voices and screaming. She did not recognize him or any family members, and when he tried to speak with her, she sprayed him in the face with bug repellent. She then ran into the home and locked the door. Officers gained entry into the home and discovered the elderly female had barricaded herself in a bedroom closet, armed with a knife and bug repellent spray. Periodically, she would poke the knife through the opening of the door as officers attempted to look inside. The female subject was aggressive and appeared very agitated at the presence of officers. After several more failed attempts to get the subject to surrender, officers formulated a tactical plan to physically take her into custody. With the use of a ballistic shield and a taser, officers again ordered the female subject to exit the closet with negative results. At that time, officers deployed the taser, which temporarily incapacitated the female subject. Officers were then able to disarm and take her into custody without injury. Alliance Mobile Health was on scene and assumed primary care of the patient. She was transported to a local hospital where she received the appropriate psychological care. And due to the well thought out and decisive actions taken by all of the officers involved, the patient was safely taken into custody using minimal force and eliminating any injuries to herself, officers, or additional family members. And I would like to commend Officer Scott Turner and the excellent manner in which he performed his duties in this incident. And his unit citation is signed by myself, the Director of Public Safety, Steve Cooper. I would also just like to add on top of that, in the times that we're actually policing in this day and age, you hear, it's probably not a day that you can't turn on the television and you'll hear different cases about use of force and officers and the excessive use of force and other means or alternatives that officers could have used to maybe take someone into custody with out harm, with less harm. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's unavoidable. But this is a perfect example of, like I said, all of the officers gathering together, actually coming up with a tactical plan, not rushing in to make a rash decision, which could have turned out drastically worse. Like I said, Officer Turner is one of our 16-year veterans on the department and has always made this department proud of his actions and how he reacts and responds on a daily basis. Like I said, I'm proud of him, proud of the way that he and the rest of the officers handled themselves in this particular incident, and it's just a credit to this city that we have officers such as himself on the department. So again, congratulations to Officer Scott Turner. I want to present him with his unit citation. At this time, I would like to present the merit citation. And as I call forth the two officers that are in the audience, if they would come forward and face the audience, stand in front and center as well. Officer Dave Gifford. Officer Dave Gifford has been with the department for 3 years. He's currently one of our department's field training officers. He's assigned to the midnight shift. He's extremely bright officer with endless potential, and I'm proud to have him as a member of our department. I would also like to call at this time Officer Kyle McFarland up to the front here. Officer McFarland has 2 years with the department. He's currently assigned to the midnight shift. He also serves as one of the department's evidence technicians. He does an outstanding job. For only having been with the department for a couple of years, I believe this is Officer McFarland's third award. Officer McFarland is also very bright, and I'm proud to have him as a member of this department as well. And without further ado, I will read verbatim from the merit citation. Officer Adam Langford is also listed on the citation, but he was unable to be here tonight. And the merit citation reads as follows. It says, on Sunday, June 25th, 2017, at 10 o'clock p.m., Officers McFarland, Langford, and Gifford were dispatched to the 24,700 block of Rensselaer on the report of a 60-year-old female not breathing. Officers arrived on scene and observed the patient's husband attempting to administer CPR. Officers assumed primary care of the patient, moving her from the sofa in the living room onto the floor. Officers quickly assessed the patient and determined she was absent any vital signs. Officers continued to administer CPR as she was attached to the automatic electronic defibrillator, also referred to as an AED. Officers also began rescue breathing for the patient. In total, officers administered 3 cycles of CPR, and the AED delivered 2 shocks. After the second shock from the AED, the patient regained a pulse and began to breathe unassisted. Officers provided oxygen to the patient and monitored her vital signs until Alliance Mobile Health arrived on scene and assumed primary care. Upon the arrival of Alliance, the patient was alert and able to speak. She was transported to Providence Hospital, where she received advanced care and has made a full recovery. Due to the quick and responsive and decisive actions of Officers Gifford, Langford, and McFarland, the victim's life was saved. And as I stated before, they are also commended for the excellent manner in which they performed in their duties, and their merit citation is signed by myself, the Director of Public Safety, Steve Cooper. And if I may, there was a second award that I'd like to present to both Officer McFarland and Officer Gifford. And this one is actually given by the American Heart Association. And I will read from it, and it says that the American Heart Association would like to thank you. It is a pleasure to honor you for acting courageously and swiftly to offer life-saving aid. Today, many Americans feel helpless to act during an emergency because they do not know how to administer CPR, or they are afraid of hurting the victim. We want to recognize heroes that have stepped up to save a life. Thank you for performing the heroic act of CPR, a critical link in our chain of survival. You have not only helped save a life within your community, but you are also partnering with the American Heart Association to improve the survival rate of citizens who receive bystander CPR, and that's signed by Brian Eagle, PhD, and he is the Senior Vice President for the Emergency Cardiovascular Care Program. And they were not able to be here on this date, but I spoke with him personally on the telephone, and he wanted to extend his sincere congratulations and appreciation for the job that these gentlemen did on that particular incident. I know sometimes we kind of take it for granted because we're out here on a day in and day out basis, and we respond to all types of runs, from the most minute run to some of the most egregious or the most serious. And I cannot think of a better incident to stand up here and honor the officers that are standing before you than actually being responsible for saving someone's life. I don't think there's a higher honor that can be bestowed upon these young men. And they have been with the department for a relatively short period of time, but have come in and stepped up to the plate and just done an outstanding job. They've represented themselves well. They've represented this department and this city well. And like I said, I am proud to have them as members of this department. And again, like I said, I would like to congratulate them, and I would like to thank the City Council and City Manager for allowing me to take a few minutes here to honor these men today. So thank you, and I will present them with their awards here.
Okay, next we will conduct a public hearing to hear comments and concerns on the following special assessment districts. Number 664, unpaid utility invoices. 665, unpaid false alarm invoices. 666, unpaid miscellaneous concrete replacement invoices. 667, unpaid property blight invoices. 668, unpaid sidewalk replacement invoices. And 669, unpaid weed mowing invoices. I now declare the public hearing open. Anyone who would like to speak can come up to the microphone and speak. Alternatively, you can speak to someone in the hall or send a letter. Is there anyone who would like to speak? City Clerk Norris, are there any written objections to read into the... Yes. Please. Thank you.
Items, yes.
Sorry?
I can speak on blight.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Can you give us your name and address?
My name's Jeffrey Brodsky. The address, it's a commercial building, 8720 West 9 Mile Road. My dad was the original builder of the building, and I think back in the 1970s. Family's always managed the building. A landlord, we're commercial landlords. And we've always maintained the building in nice condition. So back in 2016, there was a salon in the building that wasn't really taking care of it very well. And we were in the process of changing tenancy. And the front window in the building was cracked. In fact, there were 2 cracked front windows. And one was cracked, and to the extent that instead of leaving the window cracked while we were doing repairs to the outside and the inside of the building, we took the broken window down, and I boarded it up, and I ordered 2 new windows. So during the time when the window was boarded, I received a notice signed by Code Officer Greg Chilos that says property maintenance, fix window. And I felt that I had ordered a window, and that I actually ordered 2 windows. And I was doing a lot of repairs. I'm building, if you go in now, it's now a sign company. It's actually a really nice looking building on the inside and the outside. Redid the asphalt. Did just a tremendous amount of work. Well, the notice said correct before October 20th. So I have the notice here. It says correct before October 20th. Well, then I got a notice, and I was painting the inside and the outside of the building. And I went by the building, and I noticed that the front window that I had boarded had been painted. Well, I presumed that my painters had painted that front board. And then the next month I received a charge for $289.80, and it says property board-up services. Well, one is I didn't get property board-up services. I called the code enforcement officer, and he said that they painted the window. They painted that one board as like a 5 by 8 board, 40 square feet, and they charged me $289.80. But in addition to that, the service date was October 10th, 2016. It says right on the notice, October 10th, 2016. And I was given until October 20th, 2016. So they actually painted the board 10 days prior to the time I was allowed to make the repair. I might also note that the code enforcement number that I was cited on is PN 304.1, and it says the exterior of a structure shall be maintained in good repair, structurally sound, sanitary, so as not to pose a threat to the public health, safety, or welfare. So I hardly believe that a window that's boarded up instead of and not painted is posing a threat to the public health, safety, or welfare. So one is, I was doing the work anyways. I was being a good citizen. Two is, it wasn't a threat to the public health, safety, or welfare. And three is, they didn't even give me a chance by their own notice. They said October 20th, and they did the work on October 10th. And finally, to charge someone $289 to paint the board, I think is really outrageous.
Thank you. Thank you for speaking. Can you talk to Director Robert Barrett? What's that?
Madam Mayor,
Oh, yes.
I have a question for Mr. Brodsky, if that's
Yes.
okay. Mr. Brodsky? I'm sorry, can I ask you a question, please? When you were getting these notices, did you contact anybody at the city and explain what was going on? Did you
One
say, hey, I'm
is-
getting the work done already, or
Yeah.
I thought I had an extra 10 days? Did you do anything like that?
I didn't actually even realize I had the notice. They posted, apparently the notice was posted on the front door. The building was vacant. I was going there actually every day. There were workmen there every day, but I was going in the back door. And I didn't realize I had this notice until, I can't tell you what date, but it says property maintenance fixed window. And I think, if I recall, it's a year ago now, my recollection is I felt that I boarded the window, it was cracked, so I took down the cracked, potentially window that could break and fall out, and I instead boarded it. So I felt that that's what was being asked to be done. So,
Okay, all right, thanks for explaining that. Appreciate it.
Madam Mayor?
Yes. Council member speech.
Yeah, Mr. Brodsky? Mr. Brodsky? I do have a question and a comment. First, I'd like to know, when did you get that window fixed? Was it within that October 20th timeframe, before the deadline they gave you?
I don't have that information with
Okay.
me.
That's fine. Well, beyond that, because it is fixed, I am familiar with the property, the people that are in there now, and so I just want to thank you for getting the property repaired whenever you did and maintaining your property now. And certainly, we want to make sure you keep it up.
And if you go by the building, you'll see
I'm familiar
it's
now.
really nice. Not only that, I have a whole new asphalt parking lot.
Yeah, I am
everything
familiar.
has been-
I make it a habit of looking at all the buildings, so I'm familiar with exactly what you're talking about. So thank you for keeping it up now. And I have a question for the attorney, just based on the question you had regarding the boarding up the property. A city attorney, the question of keeping the property safe, would that have met the standard, or can you get back to the city council regarding that?
Yes, I can definitely get back to city council on that because I'm not familiar with the facts of this particular circumstance. But I just want to be clear also, he has filed a written objection, so that will be
Oh, he
pulled
has
from the
filed
roll
it.
for
Okay.
further investigation.
Great.
The only thing that's not in my letter is that the 10-day period in between the notice that said October 20th and the work that, according to your invoice, was done on October 10th.
Okay.
And also, I think I was clear, I'm the one that boarded the window.
You boarded it.
So
Okay.
when I first saw the notice, I did see at some point a notice, yes, and I went and boarded it, thinking that's what was being asked to be done.
Okay. Well, I know the city administration will be doing their
The
due
good
diligence.
news on this one is I've just been informed it's already been removed for consideration. So,
Okay.
It's
Great.
been removed for consideration.
so they're going to investigate,
Oh.
look into it, and some of them, they decide, no, it's got to be paid, and some of them, they take it from the roll. They remove it. So they're very honest and very, very good. And I'd just like to thank you for being a long-term owner in Oak Park, and your dad a builder.
My dad's passed away for a number of years, but he was the original builder of the building.
How
So
neat.
it's been in the family the entire time. I went to North Junior High School.
Ah,
Thank you for your information.
thank you.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to speak. That's very much appreciated.
Pleasure. All right. Anyone else?
Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes?
I'd like to encourage anyone here to speak, this is the opportunity to give us an understanding, and the administration an understanding of your situation, if you haven't filed a written complaint, or even if you have, to speak on the situation.
Yep.
Okay, my name is Henry Davis. First of all, I would like to say that I love Oak Park. I've been a resident here since over 30 years. I love the work that's been done in Oak Park, even the city building. I say, oh, look at my taxes going to work. You know, streets being done. I say, oh, look at my taxes, they're going to work. You know, a lot of things being done with the park and everything. I say, look at our taxes going to work. But then, you know, you put a sidewalk in that I didn't ask you to put in, and my taxes stop working. I get a bill sent to my house. I've been there over 30 years and never had a bill sent for sidewalks. So I don't feel I should have to pay it, because I've been here over 30 years paying my taxes, winter taxes, summer taxes, and my taxes should take care of those sidewalks. I wasn't asked to replace them. Matter of fact, I thought the sidewalks was pretty good. Wasn't nothing wrong with my sidewalk. And I do keep up my property. Matter of fact, I won a beautification award this year.
Congratulations.
You know, so I'm just saying, you know, I don't have extra money when the city decides to do something. If they decide to cut down a tree and start charging, I can't afford it. I'm already trying to pay this water bill y'all giving me.
Oh,
You know,
Mr. Davis, can we have your address?
22195 Sussex, Oak Park.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for speaking. A lot of people have the same feelings. What I learned after coming onto council is that even though it's city property, each of us is responsible for paying for the sidewalks. Also, there isn't a way to do it cheaper. If you have someone come in and do it, we get the best price because the contractor is doing so many sidewalk pieces that it can't be done. It can't be done cheaper than the way that they do it. The city does not make a nickel on this. Whatever the sidewalk contractor charges us, that's what we charge you. In front of my house, I paid for 6 flags of sidewalk. One of them I called on myself because it was kind of raised and my friend tripped on it, and she's even more senior than I am, and I was concerned that shouldn't be out there. And so it is for our safety that we redo them, and it's only redone. I'm surprised if, as long as you've been there, that you've never had this on your street, because it's on a 17-year cycle. Every 17 years. So I remember 17 years ago, they came and did some flags in front of my house. And I think it was last summer, they came and did some more. And it is always in every city, it's the residents' responsibility to pay for the sidewalks, even though they're city sidewalks, so that we all don't get sued if somebody falls or hurts themselves. Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
Because I had a few people contacting me about this issue, and I have to confess that I'm ignorant on this issue. Even though I'm a lawyer, I'm ignorant as to how it works, and so I have a question for the city manager and perhaps for the city attorney. I don't know how the sidewalk assessment works. Instead of guessing at it, I'd kind of like to hear from the city manager and from the city attorney on how the assessments work.
Well, and I'm going to have Director Robert Barrett come up and provide a more detailed explanation than I could ever provide.
Right.
He looks thrilled to do that.
Yeah. So the question always is, it looked pretty good, why do we have to replace it? Or,
Well, what I'm talking about, just
Yeah.
program.
first the program and then to the issue about, gee, it didn't look so bad.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager. I'm well-versed in the sidewalk program, even though I did not prepare a presentation tonight, but I can go over some points on this. Their sidewalk program is just something that the cities have to do to relieve liability for the city and the property owner. There's issues on there where it's not lifted or cracked, but life is very hard for Americans with disability, and there's an ADA requirements on slopes. And the piece might look perfectly fine, but it could be sloping the wrong direction, and our engineers have very good eyes, and we go out and we do re-inspections when we do the first assessment upon request. So the criteria is that, and so tonight we'll take all the investigation, all the complaints in. We'll look at the pre-videos to see if it needed to be replaced or go through them and explain to them. We'll go through each piece of information and do a thorough investigation and report back to council. We've done surveys in the past where most communities charge the residents to maintain their sidewalk out front, and the mayor is correct that we are currently on a 10-year schedule, or I mean a 17-year schedule. It could be 16 to 20 years, depending on which area, because we consolidated some. The area next year is north of 10 Mile and south of Lincoln, and we haven't been there since 1999, so that one is on a 18-year schedule. Finance-wise, once the work is done, we accumulate all the information, send it over to finance, they prepare a bill, and we are one of the few communities that do this without adding any administrative markup, okay? And that's very good to have, because I like to think or present that we do not make any money on the sidewalk program. As the mayor stated, we are simply passing on the exact costs that the contractor charges us to do it.
But I guess the question that was missing is, and perhaps again, might be from the city attorney. Obviously the city has the right to charge an assessment to a property owner for the sidewalk. It sounds to me as if the city has an easement or has some type of thing like an easement to control the sidewalk, but then it's a shared responsibility. And again, I'm speaking and I'm asking the question not out of an agenda, but out of absolute ignorance. I don't know how it works, and I still don't know how it works. I know it works. I know there's a system. I'd like to get an explanation, and I'm confident that if I have this question, there's other people who have the same question as well. I understand you go out, you look at it after 15, 16 years and decide somewhere there, we're going to go ahead and change the sidewalk. So how does that legally work, that the property owner gets assessed for it as opposed to just coming out of the general budget? I think that was the question that one of our previous speakers had. So maybe the city attorney has a question.
Madam Mayor.
Maybe Mr. Barrett has an answer. Okay.
City attorney has something.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councilmember Rich. Just to go to the heart of your question, I think what everyone is missing, it may have been misstated this evening, is the property owner actually owns the sidewalk, and as Councilmember Rich alluded to, the city has an easement right. So essentially the city has a right to access that sidewalk, as do the general public, for a variety of reasons. Your power lines, there are plumbing underneath the sidewalk, et cetera. As Director Baird indicated, there is a potential liability for not only the city for certain damages or defects in that sidewalk, but also to you as an individual property owner. So again, I believe, as Madam Mayor indicated, for her personal home, there was a concern of a visitor who tripped or possibly could have tripped on that sidewalk. If, in fact, that person would have tripped, they potentially could have had a cause of action against not only the mayor as the private homeowner, but possibly the city as well. So again, it is in all of our best interests, and that's why we have this program to go out and ascertain the condition of the sidewalks. And again, we're doing it in sections of the city, and to then, where there are defects that need to be corrected, the corrections are made. It is my understanding that there is notice also provided to the homeowner if a piece of sidewalk has been identified as having a defect and there is a need to repair. So there is some notice that is provided to the property owner prior to the actual replacement.
And the property owner can call the city and ask to have it looked at again and say, doesn't look bad, what's wrong with this one? For a particular flag, which is a square of sidewalk. What are some of the things, aside from cracked, that are dangerous or potentially dangerous? What are there's a paper with like 6 pictures of sidewalk things. Can you just go over that briefly? Because some of them don't look bad when you look at them. Say, it looks pretty good.
Right. In addition to the sidewalk card, we do provide a letter with frequently asked questions, and it has all our criteria on there. And the criteria explains what cracks meet our criteria. There's criteria what lip or how big a lip is before we, which is a trip hazard, before we crack it. There's a section for standing water if the flags
Explain that one
converge.
about the perfectly good-looking sidewalk that's just tipped a little bit.
If
Why
they
is
can
that a
come
problem?
in on each other, where one flag's going down, the other flag's going down, particularly in the wintertime, there's no place for the water to escape. That's part of our criteria.
So because it's icy then, and somebody could slip on it.
And, and for ADA requirement, they really want the sidewalk as flat as possible. A lot of sidewalks start tipping towards the house or away from the house at excessive amounts, which makes it difficult for somebody with a disability to maneuver.
And what
Madam
about the
Mayor?
ones that with pebbles,
And
coming
then
up?
it's not just the pebbles, but if there's severe spalling where the sidewalk surface is rapidly deteriorating, and you can tell by just the roughness of the surface, we replace that too.
Madam Mayor?
Because somebody's heel could get caught in that hole and they could trip because of reasons like that. Council member speech.
Yeah. Director Barrett, is this information available online so that the audience or even viewers can access it and kind of take a look at it?
I
and kind of-
assume it is, but I'll verify and make sure. Our
Okay.
sidewalk program map is on there, and I think the PDF for the frequently asked questions is on there too, but I'll verify and make sure.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Anybody else?
Thank you so much.
Thank you, thank you. Oh, it's an easement over sidewalk.
Hello, my name is Maddie Boykin, and I'm on the Beautification Commission. I'm on the Ethnic Commission, and I've been in Oak Park since 1975. It's over 40 years. I came out here. I own a house on Kipling Street, and I thought I'd paid, but I'd have to go back and check where I had 2 squares done this year. And the problem that I had, the people cut my hose to my water sprinkler. They did come back and fix it, but the same thing happened. My daughter lives on a corner right there at Cortland and Richdale, and they cut her water hose too, and she's just had a lot on her plate, and I'm gonna try to get it fixed. I'm gonna call them. Is it too late for her to have them replace that broken part where they broke her water hose? And her name is Teresa Boykin, and she's here with me. But I had a house on West Hampton, right near 8 Mile, and the tree lifted the sidewalk up, and I still had to pay.
Yeah.
And they said, but so, any of you who have a big tree around, just be aware that tree is going to keep growing, and that's going to be on you.
Right, right.
One more thing.
Mhm.
I don't know if it's true or not, but some people in my neighborhood was saying, I told this story, and they told me, okay, you don't have to pay as much, or you don't have to pay at all. So are there programs or something that you allow for a person with a lower income not to pay, or everybody has to pay the same?
We do have some programs like that, the RAP program, for example. I would recommend you contact my office tomorrow, and we can discuss that separately.
Oh, okay. I only had 2 replacements, so I don't have a problem. But I know, like I say, my daughter, she's on a lower income, and she lives on that corner, so she's got a long wrap around there. And
A lot of
So I'd appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
She needs to tell us about the hose, though. Somebody's got to actually tell us about it so that it can be fixed.
Hi, how you doing? I also live on Cortland. And
Give
my
us your name
question-
and address. Thank you.
Sonia Nix, thank you.
And your address?
13720 Cortland. And my question is not so much about the sidewalk, because I've had that conversation with Jennifer already. My problem is there was nothing wrong with my coming up into my driveway before they replaced those slabs. And now I literally have to accelerate to get into my driveway. That was, I've been there now, what, 18 years? It was just a regular ride. Now I have to give it gas to even get up in my driveway, and it wasn't like that. Why should I have to pay to replace that? Because that was never the case. If you're just fixing it, it should have been a smooth fix before it did. And I'm not the only one. It's other
So
people
the
too.
sidewalk was fixed or the
The
street?
driveway, you have, and when I'm coming up in, the walkway was repaired. They put the flags down and repaired those spots. But when they repaired the slabs in my driveway, now when I come in, I have to accelerate to get into my driveway. That's never been an issue. Like, why do I have to pay for that? So it's like a big, like they just poured cement, like a big thing of cement right there.
What's that?
Madam Mayor?
We will, if you have any issue, we will pull it off and have it,
fix it.
you signed something in the
I
hallway?
did, and I actually
Okay.
spoke to Jennifer too, and she came out and looked at it and said that was my responsibility to get that
No.
fixed. That's not my responsibility.
They will investigate it if you
Okay.
pulled it off.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, appreciate it.
Please come up. Yes.
Before we go forward,
Mhm.
can I just make a quick comment to the young lady that was just at the mic? I totally understand we had the same issue last year, and what we found out was that when the concrete company replaces the cement, they do it at they have to have it at a certain level, a certain height, according to the ordinance of the city, and that is different than what the existing sidewalk is, and sometimes it does create that gap. And what we did last year, I do believe, a couple of cases, we called the contractor back, and they adjusted that level from the sidewalk and that little hump.
Hello, hi, my name is Stephanie Wiley. I'm on 21824 Sussex Street. I have that same issue where my driveway is raised because of the new pavement that they did on there. It's a lot of things that I'm not understanding. I lived in the city of Detroit my whole entire life. And I moved to Oak Park in like 2014. And I don't understand why it's such a big difference just from one city over. It's not like I came from Bloomfield Hills or Farmington Hills. I came from just from the city of Detroit, right around the corner, and I moved to Oak Park. So I was calling the first time to get like a trash can. They're like, oh, it's $60. Why? It's a trash can. So then I called them about my driveway. They said, oh, it was a break in there. We did notice that, and they said that that would have been my responsibility to pay for. So you spoke about people walking down the street. I know I do work a lot. I don't see no people walking down my street on Sussex. I don't see these disabled people that you're speaking of. I don't see any of that walking down my street. I see just my sidewalk, like I thought in my mind was okay, just like everybody else thought. I didn't think that it was nothing wrong to where it was a hazard to where somebody would have failed or something like that. People fall every day. The sidewalk could have been fixed. They would have failed. I mean, clumsy people or whatever. It's not just the sidewalk itself.
If Detroit were the standard for city services, I think Oak Park would far exceed what's required of us. Certainly, you were in Detroit a long time. I spend a lot of time in Detroit. I don't think there's a comparison at all between the city services that are provided in Detroit and the city services that are provided here. As far as what's wrong with the concrete, we already heard from Director Barrett that there's a number of things that the engineers look for. Slope is one of the things. There's a number of other problems with the concrete that could come up that require it to be replaced. And that's what we have to do.
So I
And
have
when
a-
we do it, I mean, there's no big piggy bank here. It's just our money. We're not spending other people's money. We're spending our own. So if we decide to start saying, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to pay for it. We, meaning the city. Where's that money going to come from? Well, it's going to come from all of you. And then instead of paying once every 18 years, you're going to pay every single year for everybody else's. Smaller amounts, but much more frequent. Because it's our money. It's my money, it's your money, it's our money. It's tax money. So it's either going to come from you one way or it's going to come from you, meaning us, the other way. There's really no other option here. So as far as your particular issue that you had, again, I would ask you to seriously consider if you're going to compare the Oak Park City Services to Detroit City Services.
Right, and also they were saying like the contractor is the one that you all have to pay. Why couldn't the city tax dollars pay for the contractors? Like our taxes that we pay, I paid close to $3,000. I'm low income. I paid close to $3,000. That was all I had, and my money went on that. Why couldn't our tax dollars pay for the contractors? So you all are saying you all are not making the money.
Right.
You're not making a dime off of it, like you're saying. Why couldn't
We're
our
one of the
tax-
only cities to do that, by the way, as has been explained. Most cities charge. We don't, because we're not trying to make a profit off of ourselves. That seems silly and counterintuitive.
I mean, I do totally understand what you're saying, but I know it's hard to try and make the comparisons, and I'm not talking about any other municipality, but in Oak Park, when it snows, when I get up to go to work in the morning, my streets are done. So I see my tax dollars. On trash day, my trash is picked up. So I see my tax dollars being spent every day in a lot of different ways.
Public safety.
Public
It's
safety,
safe.
another way. You know, a canine unit, our tax dollars that we pay are being spent very wisely, I believe. And unfortunately, the tax dollars can't cover everything.
Who's this young man you have with you?
It's my son, who I also spend a lot of money on. That's why I don't have it.
Future
What does he
taxpayer.
think? Does he think we're paying too much in taxes?
I wish he did pay it.
But I totally understand what you're saying, but it is for the better of the community. Our streets are clean. They are swept.
I mean, I do know the difference.
So our tax
but I'm
dollars are
just-
being spent wisely, I believe, and in a good way. And unfortunately, I wish we had a never-ending cash flow so that we could cover everything, so we didn't have to pay anything extra. Because I had to pay for that sidewalk too.
Yeah.
I didn't think it needed it, but
Madam Mayor, if I may, I do
Please.
want to, is it Ms. Nix?
Yes.
Ms. Nix, I do want to, first of all, welcome you to the city, and hopefully
yeah.
you'll see a big difference from the time that you.
Yeah, that's not nice.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say your name?
Wiley.
Miss Wiley, I'm sorry. I do want to just encourage you, because I can tell that you haven't heard some of the things you said. You haven't been a homeowner here for a long time. So some of the things that you talked about aren't options, but one thing you talked about is an option. The trash can is an option. So you don't have to pay for the city's trash can at this time. So, it may be a cost to you that, seems high right now. You don't have to pay for that. You can choose to get another type of trash can and, something cheaper. But we do encourage you to, get something that's closed because it, keeps out rodents and everything. But that $60 cost is something that is an option right now for residents. We do have recycling bins that are free that we got through our contract that the city has with the recycling, SACRA. But the recycling bins, $60 is the fee if people want them. The sidewalk, that's not an option. That's a federal mandate that we have sidewalks that are safe. And because of that, we have to pass on a fee just to protect our, the liabilities for the city and for the homeowner. We have to pass on that cost one way or another. That's why a lot of people are here now. But as has been mentioned, we don't pass on any administrative fees, and really we're not we're saving the homeowners by using city resources to have the engineers go out there, so you all don't have to pay anyone to check the sidewalks. We're using city engineers to go out and do that because technically it's the homeowner's property. So, in some places they may have to go and get engineers to do that and then pay the engineers and pay to have the work done and pay the administrative fees. But we don't do that in Oak Park because we're just awesome in Oak Park. So, so please, be encouraged that there's some things that seem really hard right now, but we all have that. We all have the same thing, same costs. Okay.
City festivities, when we have a Boo Bash or a Summer Fest, eat your and drink your taxes away.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tanika McIntosh, and I'm at 21761 Parkline. And unfortunately, it too is a corner house, and I had a lot of, slabs replaced? Is that what they call it, slabs? So that was unfortunate because it got expensive. But when I heard they was replacing the sidewalks, I was excited because before that I had a lot of issues with the sidewalks. It was like pulling water. So if it rained, me and my kids would have to have on like rain boots because it was holding a lot of water. So I didn't mind them replacing the sidewalks. But after the sidewalk replacement and the cost of it, I wasn't completely satisfied because it still has like that same issue. It still holds water. Not as much, but it still holds water. So, and before when I called the city, they would say, oh, that's not our issue, that's your responsibility. So when it was told to me that they would be replaced, I was excited because I would have had to do it anyway. But it seemed to not have solved the problem completely. So.
Did you leave your address? You have your address, and did you register with
No,
the gentleman out there? Make sure you do that and talk with Mr.
Make
Barrett.
sure that Director Barrett has your name and address so that he can check into it.
Okay, make sure, who got it? Okay. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Craig McQuarrie. I think I know most of you because I came in for your interview. So my question, I hope, isn't going to affect that.
No.
But I was just wondering about because I was watching something on CNN today, and it stated that households, if they have like a $400 or $500 hit to their budget, it throws them completely out of whack. So now we're all getting assessed these like $800, $900, $700 costs, and they're knocking our budgets completely out of place. I don't think it would be such a bad thing if the cost, but we can't understand is why the cost can't be spread. Why do we have to give you all this money at one time? I understand it's an issue of ownership, meaning that we own the sidewalk as opposed to the city owning it, but I still can't understand, is there a program in place that at least gives us the option? I know that the cost of the street, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, Gonzo, the one that was just repaved by Granzo? Right.
Granson.
That street cost $1 million. You can see it on the website. It cost $1 million to do that. I don't know what the cost was for the sidewalk, but I'm sure it probably is close to something like that. That was planned for. Was the sidewalks planned for? Was there anything looked out that said, wait, these people may be low income or middle income, so we're going to need a little time. Why do we all have to just give the money all at one time? I know there's probably a debt to the contractors, but something could have been worked out so they said, hey, you guys have to pay this, but you can pay it in this manner.
We'll explain that, and that exists.
It does exist?
Yes.
Okay, if someone would tell me about that, I probably
Yes,
would.
we will explain, a city manager will explain that program.
Well, I think, Madam Mayor, members of council, if I could, for anybody who's here who's having trouble making their payments and who, if it was only extended out longer, that would benefit them, then please contact my office and we may be able to make arrangements. Listen, I think your point's a very good one, that payment terms can be adjusted to lessen the load.
Okay. And do you know, is it going to be like maybe 3, 5? I know it could never be something like 10, but Does the amount
Well,
of time for payments?
Well, we don't want to be the
Individual.
reason someone struggles financially, tremendously at least, but we want to make sure that they can make the payments and it's not putting them into bankruptcy or some other issues. So right now, the program hasn't been totally formalized, but I am definitely willing to work with those residents who are having trouble making payments, and if we just extend the timeline, perhaps that would help.
Okay.
So contact my office and we'll discuss that.
It would be like on an individual basis then?
Yeah,
Yes.
as of right now, yes.
Madam Mayor.
Madam Mayor,
Thank you. Councilmember Rich.
I have a question for Mr. Tungate. With regard to the special assessment roll, just to put a dollar figure on it, somebody gets assessed $500. Is that assessment roll go right to the very next tax year? Or is it spread over 2-3 years? How is it? We're going to be asked on a special assessment resolution with regard to these special assessment rolls. Now, I'm not so concerned about a $100 special assessment. If
Well-
somebody gets hit up for, $1,000, does that go to one tax year?
Well, it's placed on the next roll, it's placed on their taxes, so
So-
yeah, I mean, it would
okay.
be, this.
Goes to
I
the-
believe this is for the summer tax roll, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
I'm sorry, the winter tax roll.
So-
If I could, too, I believe, Director Barrett, the payments for the sidewalk program specifically, at least, are over the course of 4 months. Is he back?
He's talking to someone.
Oh, 8 months, so it's 8 months that, in that year, that we allow them.
To make payments.
Okay.
If they don't make the payment within the year, then there's the automatic penalty that's attached onto the assessment?
If they don't make the payments, then yes, they would be charged the penalty and would be placed on the next roll when they've not paid, after they've not paid.
All right. And are there have you made arrangements that ever, if somebody said, hey, I want to spread this over 18 months, 24 months?
In certain special circumstances, we have made arrangements. Those have been very few and far between. We've had some folks who have had bills that are in excess of $3,000, and 8 payments with $3,000 is quite a bit. So in those specific situations, we have allowed them to extend those.
So you want the individuals to contact you prior to them being placed on the special assessment?
I do. If all that stands between being placed on the special assessment roll and making the payments is that if we just extended these payments out, then yes, I would like them to contact me. I don't want to see any of our residents be penalized for that.
And the special assessment roll has a due, if I'm reading this correctly, and I'm hoping that our city attorney is here listening to this question too, if I'm reading this correctly, the due date's November 17. So if we vote today and place the special assessment, which is something that's done every year, if somebody contacts you on the 14th or the 15th or the 16th of November, they can come off the special assessment and work out a payment plan. That's a question, not really a statement.
Well, that is the due date. As far as the payment plan, though, I don't think we can speak to that at this point.
The roll will have been finalized by that point anyway, so
They need to let you
I
know
don't
ahead of
believe that
time.
would be possible. I mean, we are in the middle of the hearing for the process to identify those that will be taken off and reconsidered.
Okay for me?
Madam Mayor.
You're
may
waiting very
I want to speak to that
patiently.
last
Councilmember
gentleman.
speech, yes.
Yeah, I just want to speak to the last gentleman. He mentioned advocates, and, I believe I speak for everyone on the council, but I'll just speak, I think I would speak for everyone on the council, but I'll definitely speak for myself in saying that you have me definitely, but I'm pretty sure everyone on the council is an advocate. I mean, that's what we're elected to do, is to advocate for you and on behalf of, to represent you. And so when it comes to things like the budget or, things that we, and policy and those things, we have you in mind. We are residents here. We, for myself, I mean, I wasn't raised in a household that came from a lot of money, so I'm familiar with a lot of things that have to do with, financial hardship and not so hard times. So I try to consider all the things that I think the community might be dealing with. So when the gentleman had said something about, advocacy and someone that may be thinking about them, I want you all to know that absolutely those are things that come up when we're talking about the budget, when we're talking about special assessments. I remember speaking to the city manager, particularly when trying to understand when I first got elected what special assessments meant. Do they ever get an out? Like, what can people do? And that's when we first got an understanding of how this whole process went and why we might want to stay in here as long as we need to hear people out before we get a final vote on this. That's why we're asking questions and hearing people out now. So I just want to make sure that was clear to you all.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you for waiting.
And I thank you. I'd like to say,
Can you give us your name and address?
my name is Abdul Akil. My address is 22101 Ridgedale. And I've been a homeowner there since 2010. And that was the year I retired from the city of Detroit as a assistant chief building inspector. So I'm well aware of the subject of sidewalks and other things that concern themselves with buildings and the environs that we find ourselves in. But my concern is the method in which this process carried out. And I searched for a year for a suitable place to move to when I retired, and I landed in Oak Park, and I'm happy with that decision. And one of the first things that impressed me was the prompt action of the police department and the good work that they do. And I'd like to take this moment to extend my thanks to them for doing that good work. I noticed they gave out some commendations at the beginning of this session, and I appreciate seeing that good work is being done here in the city of Oak Park. I'm struggling to keep my head above water. When I retired, I was middle class. After the bankruptcy, I'm now
Poverty.
what's that? Yeah, poverty-stricken. And in that sense, when I get hit with lump sum commitments that I don't have an opportunity to make adjustments or make them doable or palatable, it creates a hardship on top of other hardships. And having heard the testimony this evening, my ear has caught this the efforts that are being put forth to extend payments, and I'd be interested in exploring that to find out if I'm a candidate for that. And, I like it here, and I want to stay here, and I want you guys to continue doing the good work that you're doing. I understand that the maintenance of sidewalks is something that lessens the liability on the city and individual homeowners. But if you can imagine the awesome task that is for a city the size of Detroit, where the city council agenda almost has as a common element of it, people that are suing the city because they tripped on the sidewalk. And having a smaller city or a smaller footprint to manage, give yourself, be appreciative of that, because there's no way in the world you can expect any governmental agency to know where every tripping hazard is in a city the size of Detroit. So for them to do any job at all is admirable. But for you to do the job that you're doing here, as carried out by the sidewalk project, is appreciated and it's admirable. And I'm sure everybody, I haven't heard anyone get up here and complain about the job being done. Mostly it's the complaints have to do with the financing of the project. And that's my concern. I would like to have seen the challenges come before the project so that options could be provided for the homeowner. Yeah, I could have done the work myself. I do have a few skills available to me. And I understand the having the entire project done by one contractor gives you a lower price than any individual homeowner could afford, and the price is lower, even though the price is might be a lot. It's still lower than it would have been if you had to incur that responsibility yourself or for the individual homeowner. I don't want to take up any more time, but I do want to get on whatever list there is being created for those who have hardships.
And also, please
payments.
contact the city manager's office. We would love to keep you in the city of Oak Park. We're honored that you picked us, and we'd love you to stay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have a question.
Another thing that should be brought up is that once the bill has come out, there are 8 months to make payments. And can you speak to that?
I can, Madam Mayor. I want to clarify something that, not that it matters to the conversation we're having, but these are sidewalk repairs that were done in the summer of 2016. So this is now more than 10 months after those, or so, that those repairs have been completed.
Right. And the bills went out.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
there were programs available to make monthly payments and that kind of thing that we hoped were made clear to the public at the time.
Yeah, and I want to also clarify, there is a direct link to a whole series of information directly on the city's website under the Department of Technical and Planning. So for those of you that don't or haven't seen that, it's out there to view on the city's webpage.
Right. Thank you. Hi, welcome. Please give us your name and address.
My name is Carla Compton, and I live on 21850 Avon. And I purchased my home 3 years ago, and I'm a first-time homeowner. And I had 3 slabs that were replaced. And personally, I didn't see anything major wrong with them. Maybe 2 of them had maybe like a little pebble chip here and there. But now, 1 of them is cracked all the way across, and 2 of them are trip hazards. Like, one end is down.
Is this the new ones?
Yes, these is all the 3 new ones, yes. 1 of them is cracked going across, and then 2 of them are like trip hazards, where they're lifted up high and they're not level.
Have you
with my
given your
driveway.
name and address to, that they filled out a form for you?
Yeah, I didn't fill out a form.
In the hall?
Yeah, I didn't. I'll fill
No?
one out. No, I didn't.
Can she see Director? See Director Barrett to make sure
Yes,
that you wind up on our list.
21850 Avon.
He's making notes. Okay. The clerk is making note of your name and address.
Okay, I also have pictures, and I don't know if they tried to fill it in, but it looks real messy.
They will check.
It's like black tar all, I guess they tried to fill it in because it was like gaps and stuff, and it's like all chipped up. It looks
Someone
really
will
horrible.
come out for anybody who is here tonight or has made an objection. The director will come out and investigate. And we're very honorable when it comes to that. We don't just, you're taken seriously and it's investigated.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And thank you for bringing it to our attention.
Okay.
I would
thank
imagine you submitted something to the city before tonight, advising us of this problem. I mean, we can't know about it on our own.
Right.
Did you know,
So-
did you contact the city before?
Well, I came down here a week ago when I received a letter in the mail saying that, that you guys were gonna have a meeting for the people who didn't pay or whatever to show up. And I came down here and I spoke to someone last week.
So they're, okay.
But anytime you have a situation like that, as soon as you notice that crack or whatever it started to happen or the chipping, contact the city.
Tell us, because that's unacceptable. I wouldn't want to pay for cracked concrete.
Yeah. It
Here's
looked
some concrete that's
horrible.
cracked, pay
And
for
then
it.
One side is sunk in, and then the other end is like sitting up really high.
Yeah.
And then it's like all
Tell
this
us.
messy,
Tell
like
us.
black tar is like sealed in.
And if it's a
like they
problem
outlined it
that
or
the
something.
contractor did, we can call the contractor back to,
Right.
Yeah, so
to make good
tell
on
us.
it, because we're paying him for good work. And
Right.
so thank you for coming.
Welcome. Right.
Yes, please come. Give us your name and address.
Hi, my name is Iantha Welch. I'm actually talking on behalf of my mother, Vernita Ramsaw, and her address is 14631 Pearson. And my question is a little bit more clarification. It looks as though she received her bill back in December of 2016, and you were speaking about a payment plan. And I just wanted, before I leave and have her contact your office, I just wanted to make sure that because this bill is almost a year old, will she still qualify for any type of payment plan?
Well, again, I hesitate to say too much because I want to deal with this as of right now on a case-by-case basis, and I don't want to get into the specifics of your situation or your mother's situation right here. But if you will contact my office tomorrow, I believe we're going to pull this one off, correct? Yeah.
It's sidewalk, yes.
And then we can talk.
Yes, she filled out a form.
Okay, so as long as she filled out a form, it'll be reconsidered in terms of what's going on.
Okay.
Analysis will be completed. But if you will contact my office, we can have a more direct conversation about the situation.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Anyone else? Okay. If there's no one else who wants to speak, City Clerk Ed Norris, are there written objections to read into the record?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'll read these exceptions. And first, beginning with Special Assessment District 664, unpaid utility invoices, property address 2212 Avon, 8785 Woodside Drive. Special Assessment District 665, false alarms. Sorry. Special Assessment District 666, miscellaneous concrete. Property address 10211 Dartmouth. Special Assessment District 667, blight invoices. Property address 8720 West 9 Mile. 21861 Kimpling. 23160 Park Lawn. 21831 through 835 Coolidge, 12825 9 Mile, 24731 Church. Special Assessment District 668, unpaid sidewalk invoices, property address 21761 Park Lawn, 21850 Avon, 13720 Cortland.
Okay.
21841 Kimpling, 21600 West Hampton, 21860 Church Street, 21750 Clover Lawn, 14641 Pearson, 21971 Clover Lawn, 21951 Stratford, 21801 Kenosha, 21630 West Hampton, 21861 Kimpling, 22000 Ridgedale, 21910 Clover
Right here.
Lawn, 21830 Kimpling, 22000 Clover Lawn, 21740 Kenosha, 21951 Whitmore, 21941 Church, 21931 Church, 13801 Pearson, 21691 Whitmore, 13901 Pearson, 22195 Sussex, 13710 Cortland, 21641 Kimpling, 21840 Ridgedale, 22160 Sussex, 21930 Kimpling, 21841 Sussex, 22101 Ridgedale, 21601 Ridgedale, 21850 Church, 14320 North End, 14631 Pearson, 22201 Marlowe Court, 13850 Cortland, 22170 Gardner, 22120 Kenosha, 22020 Kenosha, 21850 Beverly, 21910 Stratford, 22100 Gardner, 22110 Church, 21950 Kimpling, 22000 Stratford, and parcel ID number 522531206022. We'll look up that street address. And then Special Assessment District 669, unpaid weed mowing invoices, that property address 10351 Corning Street. And that concludes the exceptions.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else wanted to speak, didn't have a chance? Okay. I now then declare public hearing on Special Assessment District 664, 665, 666, 67, 668, and 669 closed. I will entertain a motion to adopt Special Assessment Resolution Number 9, confirming the rolls and withholding the noted temporary exceptions, and their Special Assessment Resolution Number 10, setting the due date of November 17th, 2017, with penalty for Special Assessment Districts 664 unpaid utility invoices, 665 unpaid false alarm invoices, 666 unpaid miscellaneous concrete replacement invoices, 667 unpaid property blight invoices, 668 unpaid sidewalk replacement invoices, and 669 unpaid weed mowing invoices. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there moved and supported? Is there discussion?
One comment.
Councilmember Radner.
I would certainly hope and appreciate that we're going to do everything we can to work with our residents so long as they present themselves to the city prior to the deadline to get on some sort of payment plan. And I'm not asking for a commitment that we're able to in every single case. Just that if they're willing to come to us and ask for help, even though it is a year later, we can do whatever it is that we can to help them.
Okay. All right, are we ready for a vote? Roll call, please.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Councilmember Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next is item 11A, approval for payment of invoices submitted by Garen Lucal Miller, PC, for legal services in the amount of $16,486.49.
So moved.
Is there support?
Support.
Is there discussion?
Got to pay your lawyers.
Councilmember Radner, you're been noted. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes, motion carried. Item 11B, approval of payment for an invoice submitted by Seacrest, Wardle, Lynch, Hampton, Truex, and Morley for legal services in the total amount of $8,661.40.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and
Too late, Ken.
moved and supported. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Rich.
Yep.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Councilmember Radner.
Yes.
Motion carried. Next, there is nothing, no update from the city attorney.
No report this evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
City Manager Tungate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. I'd like to ask Director Maroney to join me at the podium for 15A, please.
Good evening, everyone. In front of you is approval for a site plan. We had this at our last Planning Commission meeting. It's an expansion project for the congregation David Ben Nuchum. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, so I apologize for that.
David Ben Nachum.
Thank you. Thank you for helping me out there. There are a few elements. There's 5 items that still need to be followed up on, and we also need to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals next week. We did kind of expedite this because they would like to get this project started as soon as possible, so we're kind of doing them concurrently. And the Planning Commission recommends the City Council to approve the site plan dependent on the Zoning Board of Appeals approving 2 items for setbacks on both the side and the front setbacks. There's also a requirement for parking that is not going to be met, so that's another zoning variance. There was a concern from the Planning Commission in regards to that maybe they talk to Beth Shalom and see if they would allow them to share parking. I guess they've done that before in the other aspect with them doing it for Beth Shalom. And in front of you, I put a letter allowing that to happen, so you have that all in front of you tonight, which should address that concern.
Right. I'm holding a letter from Sheldon Freilich, Executive Director of Congregation Beth Shalom, that verifies that Congregation Beth Shalom agrees to the use of the parking lot by Congregation David Ben Nuchum for overflow parking. The issue came up in the Planning Commission that while most of the time there isn't very much parking required because there's the congregation isn't allowed to drive on the Sabbath or on holidays, sometimes there are special events. So they went to the trouble of getting this permission from the congregation across the street to share parking, so that takes care of that issue. Thank you. So we need a motion to approve the final site plan.
So moved. So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved by Councilmember Radner and seconded by Councilmember Rich. Are there questions or discussion? Our architect is here, and he can answer questions as well.
I have a
Yes.
question.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm sorry, Director Maroney, you said of the 5 things listed, you wanted to remove 2 or extend 2?
No. There's 5 items that are not included as part of the site plan, and then there's 2 items that need variances on the setbacks and the parking requirement.
Okay, thank you. I just needed clarity on that.
Okay, and would the architect like to speak to the council briefly?
Madam Mayor, I had a question.
Yes, question.
Director Maroney, there are 5 things listed. 2 of them seem like they're pretty major. There's the engineering plan regarding the stormwater management, and then the rooftop and ground level equipment.
That's what we do on all the site plans. So when you go to site plan approval in front of the Planning Commission, we don't require you to do your full set of engineering drawings and building blueprints. So it's just a requirement that once you do submit those to the building department, that they make sure they meet the expectations we have through our ordinances.
Okay, so it's just a matter of meeting the expectations.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, unless anyone has a particular question for the architect, I'm prepared to vote.
Right. He waited a long time and had my girlfriend babysit for his children. I think you ought to get to say a few words. Yes.
Hello, my name is Zach Ostroff, and here to represent Rabbi Ari Kostelitz, David Ben Nachum. Basically, we're adding a modest addition to the west of the existing building and closing off an entrance. And although we need a variance for setbacks, we're not making the setback any worse than it currently is. It currently is pre-existing non-conforming. And other than that, we've got a parking agreement that we just got this afternoon. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions about this issue?
I'm actually glad he just spoke, so that was very helpful information. Thank you.
Thank
problem.
you. Thanks for coming.
Okay.
Are we ready to vote?
I have a question for our city attorney.
Yes.
If I occasionally pray at this particular synagogue, can I still vote?
Yes, you may.
Okay, thank you. The lawyer in me is extremely paranoid.
Yeah, we like
Full
that
disclosure.
you're careful. Full disclosure is, we are wide open in this city. Any other questions? Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Speech.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Yes.
Mayor McClellan.
Yes.
Councilmember Radner.
Yes.
Councilmember Rich.
Yes.
Motion carried. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, members of council, that completes the city manager report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is now time for a call for the audience. There's a 3-minute limit. Give us your name and address if you'd like to bring up an issue. Please feel free to come up if you're concerned about something. Nobody? Everybody's happy? All right. Yes, everybody's done. Let's see. First, kudos to City Manager Tungate for the wonderful write-up in Ferndale Friends. And handsome picture, I might add. The 42nd District Court has a special program that helps veterans. It is a wonderful program that they have started there that gives extra support to veterans who are having problems with the legal system. And it takes many, many weeks of work with various agencies and support groups. And the veterans who completed that course had their graduation ceremony September 29th. And we're very grateful to judges Michelle Friedman-Apple and David Gubo for organizing and running the program that gives our vets extra help. And thanks to Officer Ted Kozlowski for his tireless work in helping the veterans. SACMA, we co-hosted the South Oakland County Mayors Association with Ferndale, and met at the Rust Belt. And there was a meteorologist, Richard Pohlman, from the National Weather Service Office. After studying 100 years of weather from 1895 to 2009, explained how the changing weather patterns will impact municipalities, which we know very well from the flood of 2014, that it impacts our city and city services and budget tremendously. So after studying ice core samples showing changes from 400,000 years ago, they discovered that since 1950, greenhouse gases are accelerating. We have rising CO2 levels in the atmosphere. Average temperatures are expected to increase from 3 to 14 degrees in the next 100 years. Warm air holds more moisture. That means more rain in the northern states, and drier with more heat waves and drought in the west. More rain means more flooding, which none of us wanted to hear. We can expect more of these events. Extreme cold will become less common in the north. Nights will be warmer, sea levels rising. More money will be spent nationally and locally on weather disasters, so that seriously impacts all of us. Let's see. Just a shout out to Doug Craig, who is a dad in the city who wanted to help with the traffic issues around Pepper Elementary School, where his boy went to school. The schools had been built when everybody walked to school, so they weren't really built for traffic and parking and all of that, and more people are driving to school now. So he wanted to get the dads involved in their kids' lives. He began a group that he called FBI, which is fathers being involved. And it's not just fathers, but grandfathers, uncles, neighbors, interested men in the neighborhood. And they help with the traffic in front of the school and help walk the kids from the car to the school and give them some mentoring on the way. And the kids are so proud. You know, my grandpa comes and helps at my school. The kids are so proud. We'd encourage you, if you're interested, to join that program and help out, because he has now expanded it to all of the schools in Oak Park. And Mr. Craig is the cousin, I think, of the chief of police, Craig, in Detroit. And we're just delighted to have this program in the city of Oak Park. It smoothed out the morning start of traffic issues. The fathers enjoy the camaraderie and new friendships, and it's a wonderful thing. Mayor Pro Tem Burns, let's see, about the beautification awards.
Go ahead and finish.
Yeah, no, that's like about, because you helped present awards at that event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. The 2017 Beautification Awards ceremony was held on October the 5th. It was a great success under the direction of Chair Lonnie Tabb and Assistant Manager Kevin Yee. 60 hardworking gardeners won elegant certificates and a flowered sign to put in their garden. While some residents have been recognized for over 20 years, many were first-timers. We want to thank all of Oak Park who take care of their lawns and gardens for adding to our home values and improving our curb appeal.
Thank you.
Also, I wanted to remind everyone about the Boo Bash.
Yeah.
Fast approaching. Last year was a great success. We had over 2,000 children, so we want to see that continue this year. It is dated for October the 31st from 5 p.m. to 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Shepherd Park. We also need sponsors and volunteers. If you are available, please contact the Recreation Department. It would be greatly appreciated. Also, the youth basketball team is starting. Applications are being accepted until November the 30th is the deadline for kindergartners through 8th graders. The practices will take place at the surrounding schools, excuse me, Key, Pepper, Einstein, and the Freshman Institute. The games will actually start on January the 6th and run through March the 17th. Also, the Recreation Department is accepting applications for booth rentals for our annual Gift-O-Rama that will be held on November the 18th from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. And one final note, the Recycling and Environmental Commission have informed me that the residents are very happy with our new recycling carts. Thank you so much for coming out. Please be safe and dress accordingly to the weather.
Thank you. Councilmember Radner.
Good night.
Councilmember Speech.
A man of so many words. I have just a few things to say. You know, tonight I was so glad to see so many people, although for not the occasion was bad, but I was glad that it was so many people that came to the council meeting. And it just underscores the thing that I say so often, which is please, please, please be involved with the council meetings, whether you're coming live or you're watching it later on YouTube, because we do have the YouTube channel for individuals that have access to that, or on, you know, you can even catch it on your phone, on your cell phones, if you have access to that. But I do encourage you, whenever possible, to catch the meetings, because so often we are sharing information ahead of time regarding the sidewalk program. We've mentioned that a few times, or regarding a lot of things that are going on in and around the city. We try to mention that ahead of time as often as possible. Also, if there's something going on,
we don't know about it unless you share it with us. So if there's been a contractor that we've expected to do work, if they haven't done it right, we won't know unless you share that. And so it's so important that you either get in touch with the city administration or that you come down here and let council know, or get in touch with us and let us know. It's so important. Lastly, or second to last, I want to share that the weather is changing, so I encourage you to please make sure that your kids are wrapped up before they go out the door. I actually stopped a young man and asked him, did his mother know he walked out the house like he walked out today? Because he had nothing on. And he said, he was honest, he said no. He only had a little t-shirt on, like with no sleeves or anything. He just had a little t-shirt. And I said, well, you better be glad I don't know who she is, because I would tell on you. And we both laughed about it, but he was obviously shivering. And so I just want to encourage you, before they walk out the house, make sure they have something on that, even if you have to double them up, make sure try to make them as warm as possible. And if you need help with that, of course, there are resources that we can help you out with, putting you in contact with resources to make sure that your kids are as warm as possible. Last but not least, my time as one of your council members is coming to an end, and I just want to make sure you all know how much of a pleasure it has been for me to serve as one of your council members. And even in these last couple of years after my car accident, I may not have been able to be out there on the track with you, or walking in Shepherd Park, or coming to some of your group meetings, and getting out as much as I used to when I first started, but it has still been a pleasure to be out when I could, and of course coming to council meetings when I could. It has just been an absolute blessing to be one of your council members, and I thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rich.
Good night.
There being no further business to come before this council, this meeting is adjourned.